The next thing is, I love these other things, but I'm really excited about this one for you guys. Eric Hall and you have started a new company called New Media Cartel.
Yes. Yeah. And what New Media Cartel is, it's a collection of nerds, a gaggle of geeks, whatever you want to call it. But really, back in '98, I really got into the technology community. That's kind of where we first actually started off on a bad foot. But that's where we got to know each other, is through technology. And so I've been really connected to that community. I've used technology as a platform in every role I've had, whether it's managing projects or leading the company. To me, technology is a very strategic piece of it's just really strategic to executing things well, and the tools that are available on the internet are amazing, and at the same time for most executives are daunting. What do we do with the social media and what all the video cast and things that we're doing? I mean, all this stuff exists, and how do you sort it out? Do we need to voice over IP systems? Do we move everything to the cloud, or do we not? And really, those are questions we had to wrestle through. How do you create virtual phone systems? I called your number and press what extension. And so all these wonderful tools and techniques exist to make your company bigger, to run more efficiently. All this technology that's out there, and say, how do we help the executives get what that's all about? Whether it's developing something as simple as a website or a social media strategy, or really looking at technology and saying, okay, what is this and how does this work with our branding? Because it's not just about a website, it's about generating activity. If we want them to purchase something, how do you drive purchasing intent? How do you get them to do the behaviors that you want? How do you get your message in front of that without being too interruptive?
The thing that excites me about New Media Cartel is no one company can have everything it needs.
Right.
And as far as resources, and that people are resources. So you guys can, kind of reach out and grab.
Yeah, we're really well plugged into kind of our core group, but then even beyond that, we know where to get some of the best photography you're going to find, where to get some of the best web developers that you're going to find, some of the best, pick what it is that you want. We've got a lot of depth and breadth, Eric and I myself. So that's why we thought we're going to partner together on that, and then really just partner up with other people that we think are super talented. And whereas you might go to a traditional, like an agency, a lot of the stuff gets outsourced to these guys anyway. We happen to know the same people. We know that they do great work. So we don't want to be all about lowering the price, but we feel we can do that. We feel like we can provide superior customer experiences and products and services at a better rate. So that was part of. I'm a cost cutting guy. I love to cut my cost. So I think every leader does. Let's keep our operating margin as low as possible and our cash flow as high as possible. And so that's where we can partner with them to just not just jump into it and try it all out, but to say, okay, how do we ease into this? How do we make it? Because if I launch a Twitter account and then tomorrow I'm gone, well, you probably did more damage than good.
Right.
So you really want to kind of think about what you're doing and think about your brand as a whole and your personal brand, because you've got the Steve Kennedy brand and you got the brand one, to think about. So I've got Craig Crook to think about. I've got a couple brands, obviously, New Media Cartel and TQM and even TEDx right now, which is kind of a short-term brand that I'm using. So how do I curate and manage and all the activity between that stuff? Because we're not a huge, giant conglomerate corporation that hires a whole marketing team of people to tweet for us. It's a small group of people doing a lot of work. So how do we get intelligent about that? There's tools, you're using one of those tools like TweetDeck that help us manage that stuff, and think through things like location-based it's huge, but okay, what does that really mean for my business? How do I actually start to implement it? Or QR codes. Are QR codes mainstream yet, or are they not? Help you think through those issues, and you've got to map your strategy, and then you map the technology to the strategy. But sometimes the technology might open up a new strategy you didn't think about. So you kind of got to balance that. It's not always just to mimic what you do in real life, because you may not be able to do some of the things that you weren't able to do before.
The other thing that would be a good thing is if they're struggling with their process.
Yeah, absolutely. To me, everything I think of the world with process thinking now, or design thinking, some people would call it, is everything is very intentional. I try to design the way things happen, so especially something that's repeatable. Like a sales call. A sales call is fundamentally repeatable. There are elements that are very creative. There are elements But really, there's a structure, a general thing. And so if we want to speed up our cycle time on sales quotes, if we want to speed up our cycle time on getting new customers, all those things can be dialed in so that you're not wasting time on the pieces that don't matter. You want to minimize the non-value-added activities and maximize the opportunity. The social piece to me is huge. Really, honestly, we are emotionally connected to people, and we generally make decisions with emotions. We don't generally usually use logic. Usually logic's more of a kind of a reverse engineering. We like the car, we love it, it's red and it's fancy and it's pretty, but then we start to justify it and say, well, but consumer reports and good gas mileage, and really I could not buy it. It was a great deal.
Right.
So we kind of generally
it was on sale.
It was on sale. But, there's exceptions to that. My father-in-law being a great example. He's a very linear, logical thinker, but he's also at the same time very open to innovation and to new ideas. But like I said, generally most of the time people tend to make emotional decisions, and that's what branding and marketing is all about, is understanding those emotions and things that drive behavior and saying, okay, how do we tap into those? But I know I can manipulate those. I don't want to manipulate those. I want to use those with intelligence and integrity. I don't want to just trick you into doing something. I want to partner with, I want to find the win-win where we both win. Selling ice cubes to Eskimos is stupid. I mean, they get home and they're like, well, that was kind of dumb. Probably not a lot of repeat business. It takes longer, but it's kind of that long-term thinking to see how are we partnering with people to develop. Because I'd rather walk away from something than get the short-term deal and realize that I've diminished my relationship with that person.
Right. So, that's great.
Yeah.
Anything I'm missing?
I think we hit all your bullet points. So I don't know. I think, thanks for letting me be your first guest.
Oh, thanks for coming. And this again is Steve Kennedy with Brand One Promotions. And thanks, Craig, for coming.
Yeah.
You guys have a great day.